As a 35-year-old dad with 2 kids, I know exactly how rare and precious free time can be. So after finishing the game, I just wanted to share with you all if this game respects our time and is it actually worth playing? So I'm gonna try my best to break down everything for you guys about it as quickly as possible so you can decide it for yourselves. Also, there's gonna be no spoilers here. Let's start with the story first, because especially if you're a parent, the story's gonna hit you right in the chest. Pragmata is set in the near future on a desolate lunar research station. Humanity had been up there researching something called the lunar filament. However, like in all video games, things go horribly wrong when a rogue AI called Idus takes over the facility and turns all the robots hostile. You play as Hugh Williams, an engineer who gets separated from his team during a massive lunar quake. Alone and surrounded by these deadly machines, you're rescued by an android named Diana. But she isn't a typical combat synth. She takes the form of a young girl. This is where the game leverages the classic dad and daughter trope, and let me tell ya, it works brilliantly. The dynamic between Hugh and Diana isn't just a generic escort mission where the companion ultimately starts to feel like a liability. Instead, the narrative explores this heavy, sometimes painful process of growing older, the weight of responsibility, and what it means to be a caretaker in a hostile environment. The game goes out of its way to make you care about Diana. Throughout your journey, you aren't just fighting, you're also teaching her about life on Earth. When exploring, you'll collect different things about Earth to show it to her, and then you watch her AI evolve as she learns what it means to be human. It genuinely feels like a father-daughter dynamic, and it completely elevates the stakes of the story. There's a lot more to the story here, but I'm not gonna spoil anything for you. When it comes to the actual gameplay, it's basically a third-person shooter. But it's doing something entirely unique. It makes you control both Hugh and Diana simultaneously. And believe me, it works brilliantly. It was absolutely a joy to play. Don't know how to describe this, but it's a very Capcom type of game. But it's very different from the slow defensive combat of something like Resident Evil. Pragmata is more aggressive, vertical, and relies on gravity-based movements. But the real challenge is how you have to split your brain to fight effectively. Basically how it works is Hugh handles the shooting and the traversal, while Diana, on the other hand, provides tactical hacking. Neither can function optimally on their own, so you really have to combine their abilities. Enemy robots are heavily armored and are bullet resistant. To break their defenses, you have to use Diana to hack their systems. But this isn't a simple button press. Hacking opens up a grid-based node interface. You have to navigate this hacking grid to connect different colored nodes. The catch? You have to do this in real time while Hugh is actively being shot at. You're literally managing a puzzle game and a third-person shooter simultaneously. Look, I'm putting it very simply here, but it's far more fun when you actually play it, and it's very satisfying when it starts to click. Then there's the shelter. It acts as your central hub, and it's where all of your progression happens. As you defeat bosses, the shelter automatically levels up, reaching a maximum of level 4, unlocking new upgrades and abilities. You spend a currency called Lunar Filament to upgrade your guns, Diana's hacking nodes, and install mods. Here's a tip for you guys, prioritize the auto-hacking upgrade as soon as it becomes available. It consumes a bit of your hacking gauge, but it automatically completes the hack, and believe me, you're gonna need it when things get messy. Some other great upgrades include fast moves, which slows down time when you execute a perfect dodge, and critical shot, which is a finisher move for low health enemies. The shelter isn't just for upgrades though, it's a fully interactive space designed to build your attachment to Diana. You can trigger mini games where you dance, you can talk to her, and even play a game of hide and seek. Alright, let's talk about the single most important metric for any dad gamer or anyone with a job really, time. How long is this game gonna trap you for? You'll be thrilled to hear that Pragmata actually respects your time. An average playthrough of the main campaign takes around 10 to 12 hours. This includes finishing the main story and dabbling in a few side objectives. It's meaty enough to feel like you got your money's worth, but concise enough that you can actually finish it over a few weekends. For me, it's always quality over quantity. I would rather play a 12-hour solid campaign than a dragged out one that lasts for like 50 but is absolutely bland. Other than that, it offers 2 difficulty settings, casual and standard. I played on standard, and it took me like 12 plus hours to finish the game with some side activities. If you just want to experience the story, casual mode is the one to go for. But I would recommend trying standard mode first. If you do start on standard and find yourself repeatedly dying to a tough boss, the game will offer you the option to switch to casual mode. The only catch is that once you drop down to casual, you can't switch back to standard for the rest of that playthrough. But honestly, if you're stuck and just want to progress, it's a lifesaver. For the hardcore gamers, beating the game once unlocks a 3rd difficulty called Lunatic mode, which dramatically increases enemy aggression. So there's that. Since I primarily play on PC, I'm happy to announce it runs really well on PC. It's built on their incredible RE engine, which means you don't really need an overly expensive $3,000 rig just to get the game running, which is great news. As you can see, a mid-range card from a few years ago like the 2060 Super, which is what I have, is plenty to hit 60 frames per second on the balanced preset. But if you want to turn on ray tracing to make those lunar reflections pop, you're gonna need a GPU with at least 12 GB of VRAM like the 3060 or 6700 XT. Also, the game relies heavily on fast asset streaming, so installing it on an SSD is practically mandatory to avoid stuttering. But overall, it's a well-optimized game and it's gonna run just fine. Now let's say you finished the 12-hour campaign, you loved it, and by some miracle you actually have more free time to burn. There's a new game plus called Unknown Signal. This puts you right back before the final encounter, but it unlocks a brand new destination, the Hidden Chamber. Inside this chamber, you meet someone who hands you 10 brand new, highly difficult combat simulation missions. Beating the very first simulation gives you an executive stamp card, upgrades your shelter to level 5, hands you a heavy weapon called the jackhammer, and unlocks free roam access to travel back to any of the 6 environmental sectors. The ultimate goal of this mode is to achieve a 100% completion. But to do so, you have to hunt down Mark II variants of the campaign bosses. These are brutally difficult, highly aggressive versions of the enemies you fought previously, and they demand absolute mastery of the combat system. It's an incredible addition for hardcore fans, but honestly, as a dad, just finishing the main story was satisfying enough for me. It's great to know it's there, but there is absolutely no pressure to engage with it if you want to move on to your next game, which is what I did, and we'll talk about it in my next video. So the question remains, can dads play Pragmata? If you can carve out guaranteed uninterrupted blocks of private time late at night after the house has gone to sleep, Pragmata is absolutely worth the price of admission. It's a brilliant, unique experience that pushes the boundaries of action games while telling a story that many will deeply appreciate. Just make sure you are ready for a heavy dose of multitasking and maybe keep some tissues handy for that ending. See you guys in the next video.